It's that time of the month where club football takes a back seat and national teams take the center stage. Now, Ghana and the Black Stars, for that matter, were right in the thick of things at the Accra Sports Stadium. To be exact, I haven't seen a crowd like that at the Accra Sports Stadium in a very, very long time. I'll give you the details of what happened, but in the end, in a game where Ghana won by 5-0, there's still been a lot of debate with regards to the Black Stars. It's crazy, but that's just the nature of Ghanaians and their national team. When you go across the continent, a few interesting results recorded. Kwesi Appiah still doing really interesting things with his Sudan team. And then you go to the Nations League. You can talk about Thomas Tuchel in England, his debut with England as manager. You can talk about what's happening in CONMEBOL as far as Argentina and Brazil are also concerned. So a lot to chew on Scorecard today. It's a 1-hour show, so it should be a pretty tight show today. Let me take a quick turnaround. When I come back, I'll introduce my two good friends and we'll start talking. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. I am Benjamin Nketiah, Susu Graham, and Emmanuel Nubo are my guests in the studio. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I don't know, international break, it's always some type of way for me, but I was in the stadium on Friday, so it was a pretty good experience. I don't know what you guys have been up to this weekend.
Oh, I've been resting. I've been monitoring the results here and there, but I've just been resting.
You have been keeping special tabs on Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, no, I was just telling you because we're there and there, we are updating each other on their matches, the Nations League matches that happen. Spain, Netherlands. Last time I checked,
would you have updated me if you had scored?
It's 1-1 though.
Yeah.
That pause is very telling.
No, I would have told you the score because Spain, Netherlands is 1-1. France are leading Croatia 1-0, but they are still down on aggregate. Germany are way ahead of Italy, is 3-1. I think, and Portugal were leading 1-0 last time I checked. Those are like the
really
updates.
good
So
games.
that's even now. I think they lost the first
Exactly.
leg.
So a lot of the games are nicely poised, but I think Germany are going through, and the rest of them, there's France. If they score a second goal, goes to extra time. So
really good games this weekend. Yeah. What have you been up to?
Well, for me, I was actually surprised the stadium was that full because the last time Ghana played a home game, I think it was against Sudan.
Niger.
Was Niger rather? So the Sudan was before. I was at the Sudan game, and based on even the reaction of the fans and all those things, I was a bit surprised people still love the Black Stars.
I think the Niger game, to be fair, because we all knew we were out of the qualification. Remember, that was the last game of the qualifying series. Yep. We knew we had failed to qualify, and it was just a weird atmosphere because half the Ghanaians who came to support the Ghanaians who were playing for Niger. So it was a very weird atmosphere that day.
Anyway,
I was surprised to see that crowd.
Huge crowd actually.
Very.
Now, while we are on the topic on the crowd, let me just get this out of the way before we get into highlight mode. So I was very happy with the result, obviously, but I saw a few things that I was not happy at all about. And I'm not even going to nitpick. This is purely outside of the football. Yeah. So first of all, I want to send this notice to the National Sports Authority and the GFA because the NSA avails the ground and then the FA is supposed to make security arrangements for the ground. Now, if you realize, there was a section of the stadium that had been cordoned off. Now, according to CAF, those parts of the stadium, or that part of the stadium was unsafe for use because the railings were loose. And so any form of pushback against the railings, and there could have been disaster. And I realized that they had covered it with advertising banners, right, to keep people from going in. Now, I am no statistician, but the stadium is a 40,000 capacity stadium. Off the top of my head, I can just say the cordoned off section was about 5,000 seats. That part, right, was... I was in the inner perimeter, so I noticed that as the game was going on, by 10 minutes to the end of the first half, the inner perimeter, like the ground space between the seating area and the pitch and the barricade had all been swarmed by fans. And fans had taken all over that space around the whole pitch. Now, after half time,
so the space that's supposed to be between the glass doors,
so the barricade and where the fans begin.
So people had gone to stand there.
The glass door and the pitch, they had covered all that space.
So they were standing between the seats and the glass door.
Okay. And so after about 60 minutes, I realized that the empty space that was a security concern had been taken over. They had allowed people to sit in those spaces. Now, what also happened is that, and I'll say a big shame to the police people who were on duty on the day. Look, a lot of you were literally watching the game. You were not doing your jobs. Yeah. In fact, on multiple occasions, Mr. John Ansah, who was in charge of security, had to literally go on a rampage, calling all of you to get back to your post. So you realize that there are literal entrances at various sections. Yeah. They had abandoned their posts and they were watching the game. In fact, those of the people who were on the other side of the barricade were all enjoying the game. In fact, somebody told me that some policeman beside him was literally analyzing the game with him. And this was crazy for me, guys. Look, I'm saying this because off the top of my head, I think there were at least close to 60,000 people in the ground. And if the result had gone south and any kind of pushback had happened, the police would have been completely overwhelmed on the pitch. And that is unacceptable. Second thing that happened, I don't know if you guys...
before you go on, even forget about the police being overwhelmed. The people in the stadium won't be safe.
Exactly.
Because 60,000... There's a reason.
Easily.
There's a reason we stopped doing standing at games. There's a reason standing has been.
Kind of banned.
Yeah, and if you are going to do standing, there's certain things you have to do. That stadium is an all-seater, as far as I'm aware. And if you are telling me that part of it has been cordoned off, it means that we shouldn't have got more than 35,000.
No,
if you feel like
30,000 to give some a gap
the ground was so full. I'm telling you that and I knew they knew this was a problem because when the game ended, the stadium announcer said that those fans who were in a certain section, that section I'm talking about, needed to be extra careful not to touch the railings when they were leaving. I mean, how do you do this?
You see, just to add, there's one interesting thing I've realized with Ghanaian stadiums. Anytime the stadium is full, if you are watching it on TV, you don't see where, like, the alley that leads to the exits are always full.
Because so it means there are people standing in the exit ways.
It means in the event anything happens,
the stadium was packed to the rafters. People were in the exit ways. They were in the walkways between the inner perimeter and the outer perimeter, like I'm telling you.
People bring their own plastic chairs.
Appalled me the most. What appalled me the most was the ball boys on duty. When Jordan scored his goal, when Semenyo scored the goal, especially the Jordan goal, they literally invaded the pitch to go and hug the player. I am so disgusted. Like, I don't know what to say. It was not one of them. It wasn't
all of them.
Every single one of them. It means that these guys literally had no training before the game. They had no sense of what was happening on the day.
Jordan has the streets.
That's just appalling. I mean, look, I was happy on the day for the result. But these things, and what happens, and then we also had a pitch invader. Now, the pitch invader situation is as a result of the police people abandoning their post and watching the game with us. Now, what happens is that the GFA will incur a fine of at least $20,000 for that pitch invasion. Now, for that ball boy pitch invasion on the pitch as well, that's probably another $10,000. So I'm not sure Kurt is happy about these things.
Just add, there's that TikTok going around of people climbing the wall.
People were climbing the stadium. And in fact, I've seen the NSA boss saying that they ought to do better and that this won't happen. Look, I'm sorry, but I know you've just taken up the job. It's been less than 2 weeks since you took up the job. But just like all you and the NSA people were at the stadium in your numbers to ensure that this game was successful, I think you guys need to be up and doing. The GFA is responsible for this more because they, as the FA, are supposed to coordinate security for this game. And I'm sorry that the security arrangements for this game were a complete sham. If anything had happened in the stadium, I think it would have been a complete May 9 reboot again. That's how dangerous it was for me because after the game, right? I'm sorry,
in fact, that's probably why we couldn't call you anything because there were probably so many people.
There was a network blackout. There was a data blackout, so you could literally not do anything in the stadium. That's how crazy it is. So I'm just saying, look, let's be up and doing with these things because people's lives are at stake, and sometimes when people are excited, they do crazy things. Because when the game ended, fans, I don't think the fans have seen the Black Stars like this in a long while. They didn't even want to go.
No.
Because I was on the pitch, it took us close to 15 minutes to leave the pitch because the people who were on the other side of the glass, for some reason, wanted to come onto the pitch.
But remember the Angola game when people lost, they got onto the pitch. So I said, oh, you sports my bet, you sports my bet. Do you remember that?
Yep.
So it looks like once a game finished, people want to come onto the pitch.
I was not happy. People were taking selfies to players. Look, the security just left a lot to be desired. So let me just go straight into the highlights. The Black Stars won by 5-0. The return leg or the next game of that doubleheader is in Morocco tomorrow against Madagascar. Let's get the highlights of this one. So 5-0 clean sheet, but still lots of talking points. Let me start you, Suzu. I'm sure you've noted down a few of the talking points. First one, of course, being Benjamin Asare getting the nod over Atizigi and Wallacott. I found that out just about a little over an hour to kick off, and I was in shock.
But Otuado said that he performed better in training. So
people say that is convenient because how do you justify that?
Well, how many days did you
Well, he said that's what he saw. So what he saw is what he's going to base it on, and we can't argue that we're in the training with them.
How do you feel about that? How does that affect the psyche of the goalkeepers going forward? And tomorrow is another game. We will really see if this is, a decision going forward or it was ad hoc. But I think tomorrow will give us answers. But how do you feel about that whole thing generally?
Generally, I've always said that I don't trust our Ghana Premier League players. It's not their fault, but there's not a lot of quality in the league. Yeah. So for me, the fact that he's a Ghana Premier League player alone makes me feel like he's the worst keeper in the squad. With all due respect, it's nothing personal, but it is what it is. And the fact that he's also 32, you are still in the Ghana Premier League. It's different if he was 19, 20. You can say that, okay, maybe he's up and coming. But by now, if you were good, someone would have
seen you. It's a late bloomer.
Oh, don't do that.
Like Van Dijk.
So for me, those things alone, like it's sad to say, but because of the state of our league, it just does not inspire confidence. Because you see some of our players, they are doing well in our league. They go abroad and then they are struggling to get games. They are not able to really assess themselves. So for me, it's just a red flag. And then also you look at the quality of the goalkeeping in the Ghana Premier League itself. Being the best goalkeeper in the Ghana Premier League is not saying much, right?
True.
And I think
because the strikers in the Ghana Premier League are not up to much.
Exactly. So I think, look, it's just unfortunate that whatever talent he has been stunted by our poor football ecosystem. That one day, let's be fair to him. Like if he was born somewhere else, he'd be a much better goalkeeper. It's standard. But it also makes me worry that we are always changing our keepers. That's the problem. You would think that Atizigi, who's played a lot with Jiko and Salisu, they have a bit of an understanding. Let's build on that. If you now bring a new goalkeeper in, he now has to build his understanding. He now has to come to grips with it. And to be fair to Ben Asare, he didn't have much to do. The small he had to do with those corners, he did not inspire confidence. I'll be very honest with you. So even the small he did, it was, you are wondering to yourself, But it was Chad. Look, let's be honest, Chad were poor. So it didn't really matter. Even if you had considered 2-3 goals, we still scored 5. So it's like, but for me, this goalkeeping situation, I think is political. I don't know what the political angle is. I don't know what Otuado and the GFA are trying to achieve. But there's definitely some politics involved. I don't think this is a purely ability-based decision. Because this keeper is not a keeper who's good with his feet. You say you want to play out from the back, short passing and things. He's not good with his feet.
Even the one who is good causes problems. So how much more someone?
Yeah, so like for me, I feel like this was not a football decision, which is fine. But if you tell us it's a football decision and we go to Madagascar and he has a bad game,
I'm actually even wondering if he will be imposed for the Madagascar game.
But you see, if he's not imposed for the Madagascar game, then it makes us wonder, why did you tell us he was performing in training? What changed? Because they're not going to train much.
We are going to.
Because we spoke about this one, because basically these guys landed in Morocco, Saturday afternoon. They'll go to their hotel, do their, let's say they even train in the evening.
They'll do recovery.
Thank you, they'll do recovery. So you have one training session on Sunday, if at all. Because and if you have that one training session on Sunday, are you telling me that Sunday training session, the person can do so much to overtake what you saw in the previous days and let them start?
Meanwhile, your opponents have had 4 days or 5 days of rest.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder because if you change the goalkeeper, what are you telling us about their performance in training in that one day? Are you saying that Asare said, I'm number one, I'm resting on my laurels, I don't want to do anything again? So you Atizigi has worked hard. Wolakot has worked hard.
That decision the decision for the next game will tell a lot of us everything.
And the truth is, a lot of these keepers, I don't see how they don't manage this, because we've seen Atizigi at the World Cup. He was the one who was in the World Cup for a World Cup game. That's a big stage. The Nigeria playoff, Wolakot handled that. So I don't think you can tell me that the Black Stars post is too big for these guys. Because I think Wolakot, of all the three, he's the one who's had the biggest pressure game. Because playing Nigeria are rivals.
There's no bigger pressure than that.
You managed that game in Kumasi. You went to, was it Abuja that we played that game? You managed that game. I mean, it wasn't great. We're just lucky that the Nigerians were off color that day. But he managed the game. So for me, the whole thing is strange. But look, whatever the decisions the GFA make and the Otoado and whatever, we are just watching. We were observers. Our job is to observe and comment. So when they make their decisions, they will make them, and we'll say what we see at the end of the day. If they put Atizigi in post and he does badly, and you see the problem is that when you change it like this, it becomes, because if you put Atizigi, you'll be like, Asari wouldn't have done this. The what ifs will start entering the conversation. Which
they like setting themselves. The people like setting themselves
up. And for me, we have.
I think it's even the excuse he gave. If you had mentioned something like jet lag, Asari's local base, he's already here. Like, it makes more sense.
But to go and say he performed better in training.
Bro.
And you see, once you say that, the what ifs come. Because Atizigi has been our number one. Are you telling us he's no longer number one? Or is it that he was never number one? And the keeping thing, they're deciding who's number one. So I think I think we have too much politics around setting this. So even the captaincy, we won't even talk about, because that one has been resolved. But look at how that thing went up and down.
It was
Partey, it was Kudus, now it's Jordan.
The captain band was being hot potato. You were
Nobody
asked about
wanted it.
What's the hierarchy? It doesn't seem like there's a proper hierarchy. And so, contrary to
what... Because if you noticed, when Jordan was going off, I don't know if you noticed this, it looked like there was something between Jiku and Partey.
That's what I'm saying.
Trying to decide where they are. It looks like they were having some discussion, and they weren't really sure. And then Partey took it.
That is exactly what happened.
And then Partey took the armband.
Because Partey didn't want the band. And Jiku doesn't want the band either. And
so, so that's why it was that they were... Because I was watching it, I was wondering whether I want...
And then he replayed again when Partey was going off. He's going off and he was like, who do I give the band to? And he's giving it to Jiku, and Jiku says, I don't want the band. So you hand the band over to the next person. Which
so
happened
who took
to
it
the
in
Kudus,
there?
and Kudus took the band. So we clearly don't have a well
because
spelled out
if
hierarchy.
you start with Partey and Jiku, you can't say that when Partey is going off, it's good to Kudus. Because clearly, if Partey and Jiku were the ones discussing, isn't it obvious that that's 2 and 3?
Yeah.
So the whole thing is bizarre. And I've mentioned this before, the lack of clarity and organization with the way we do things with the Black Stars. This goalkeeping thing is part of it. Because Benjamin Asari, you've never called him up.
Nope.
Is it that Benjamin Asari was not playing football before? That you had never seen him to bring him to the Black Stars, to even be your third keeper, before you decide to make him number one? Because for me, okay, I get it, he's kept a lot of clean sheets. But if you know a bit about statistics, clean sheets themselves are very misleading stats.
Yep.
Because how many shots on target did he face to get those clean sheets? What percentage of the saves is he saving? Because
what's the difficulty
if you are,
of what he's
we
seeing,
see Ederson keeping a lot of clean sheets, but there are also a lot of games. Ederson, his first shot on target, it goes in. But Ederson is still one of the highest in terms of keeping clean sheets in the Premier League, even though he doesn't stop shots that well.
Yeah.
Because he plays in a team that does not let a lot of shots. So is it that the House of Oak defense is very good? Is it that Benjamin Asari is doing? Because remember they called him up and then the Dreams FC, the next game, we saw a mistake. So it's like, there's just...
I think a lot of answers will be provided just before the Madagascar game, so we'll know about that. But let me take your takeaways from the game itself. Formation-wise, lineup-wise, intensity, creativity. What did you make of all of that?
I think all around it was a good game. Aside the fact that Chad was a poor team, they are poor and all those things, but you still have to put chances away. So I think, for me, there are certain things we spelled out all along. That defense doesn't inspire confidence. We saw them, they literally conceded in every game in the AFCON qualifiers, but I think Sudan also. And they had been consistently conceding for a very long time. So for them to come through this with a clean sheet.
This is our first clean sheet
in a very long time.
In our last about 12 games. This is our second clean sheet or something. Our last 12 competitive games.
That's very alarming. And I think we had a period where within a space of about 10-15 minutes, we were conceding a lot of goals in a short span. So to get a clean sheet, yes. And it's even boosts more confidence in the sense that Madagascar hasn't scored against Ghana in their last 2 or 3 games. So that should be some form of good riddance. But I think with the whole team, we need to clearly have a set 12 to 15 players who we know that this is our squad. This is the people we are building around.
Their core.
Then you build some consistency. So that when you are bringing players in, it's just to complement the team. Not to one day is Schindler, who has been called so many times, he starts, and the next game you don't see him, someone else starts. And
where is Königsdorfer?
He'll come back soon.
But you know, it's interesting. Königsdorfer is actually in decent form, so I was surprised.
Königsdorfer is always in decent form for his club.
That's the funny
thing. The funny thing is the last
when
few
he's
times,
in decent form, he doesn't get called up. When he's off, that's when he comes into the team.
Exactly, because the last few times been calling him, is in the last few months that he started picking up. Because November he came, he wasn't really scoring to start the season. It's like in the last few months he's picked up. I was checking on him at HSV. He's kind of picked up. They are heading towards promotion, so things are going well for them. But now we don't call him. When it's rather now we should be calling him.
I think on the offensive part, we have players who are in form. Semenyo is in form. Kudus not performing so well, but
he's still our best player.
Exactly. You know what he brings to the national team. Myanmar is doing good at
I think that was his best game in the Black Star shirt.
That's his best game this year, if you ask me. He's been quite poor.
He was really turned up for this game. Like I like this energy for the game, like overall. So there you have pictures of the team arriving in Morocco over there. You have Jiku there, hot potato in the captain's armband, wanting nothing to do with it. If you listen to the chatter around the team, he's still a little upset about getting called out for the Niger underperformance when he was not even in camp for those games. And also his commitment was called into question for a certain spell when he refused to turn out for being injured. So a lot of undertones that you typically don't hear happening, but I think they put that behind them to be able to get the win. So they arrived in Casablanca, I believe. The game is in Rabat, so they need to drive at least an hour over there. I think that will also take more energy out of them. So you realize Madagascar have been in Morocco. Madagascar played their last game in Morocco, so they have to just make the drive from Casablanca to this thing.
Who did Madagascar play?
I believe Central African Republic.
Okay, they have issues in their country.
So they there you have the Black Stars. So let's listen to Otoado. He said a few things in the lead up to this game against Madagascar during the post-game press conference. So let's take his thoughts and then we'll come back and wrap up the Black Stars discussion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a little bit worrying because also we have to travel. Madagascar is already in Morocco and now we're playing in Morocco again, so for them it's much easier. But to be fair, also their game on Wednesday, I think it was very tough for them. Because some of their players played on Sunday and then played on Wednesday. It's a very tough schedule. I don't know who's doing the schedule, but to be honest, also in the past, sometimes I really don't understand. So, yeah, but there's nothing we can do. We have to accept it. Like I said, it will be very, very tough. They have a really, really good team, and surely we are also analyzing the last game. They had a big victory against Comoros for one, and like I said, it's going to be very, very tough for us. Yeah, the preparation starts now. It's good that we won and we can focus on Madagascar.
So Otoado clearly not happy with the scheduling for this game. Now, for those of you who don't know, what happens with these things is CAF gives you a date range within which you can pick what dates you want to play, and then you can work out the timing and all of that. Madagascar chose an earlier time to play their game, and which meant that they had more time to rest as opposed to our time for rest. I'm not sure who exactly did our game scheduling, but it's terrible.
But why is Otoado complaining?
Well, he doesn't do these things.
The reason I'm asking is that you knew this,
but
you kept a lot of our key players on. You made Kudus play 90 minutes. Jordan played 90 minutes. Partey played 80 minutes. So,
which is the most significant because he has only one natural defensive midfielder in this team. And even Arsenal don't play Partey twice in 7 days.
No. So if you knew that he's not even
playing, when the game was wrapped up by 50
you are playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then Monday. Come on.
Yep.
Otoado, if you knew that this was a problem, when we were 3-0 up, was it 3-0 at halftime?
At 55 or so, 55th minute, this game was done.
No, it was even 3-0 at halftime. It doesn't.
So they don't even need to come on for the second half.
If this was an issue for you truly, Partey would not have played the second half. Partey would not have gone past 60 minutes. 60 minutes, I can say, okay, maybe 60 minutes to make sure that the game is secure. Then you make your changes. But you let the guy play 80 minutes.
You don't have any substitute central midfielder on the bench.
And then you can now come and tell us that they're scheduling and things. I mean, let's be so serious. The scheduling is beyond your control. Fine. But the fitness of your players is in your control.
Yep.
If you are 3-0 up, you can have told the players, look, first half, let's go hard, get the win. Yeah. So the second half, I can take the key players off. If you tell the players this before the game, there's an understanding. Yeah. I don't think anyone is going to be upset that you are taking me off once you've agreed. Yeah. And you've got the win. Because the whole thing is that Madagascar is second in this group.
Yep. Yeah. They win the game.
The difference is 2 points, right?
Yes.
Between Ghana and
so, Otoado, I think, this your complaints. I'm not buying it.
Just let me stay on you briefly, and then I'll come to Nubo. Your expectations for that Madagascar game, based on what you've seen so far.
Of course, look, Madagascar are second in their group. We're about halfway through the group at this point. 6 games, we've played 5. They've played 5. They are second, we are first. Yep. So clearly, they are not a bad team because they've played everyone already. The only team that has beaten them is us. And that was a last minute in Aki Williams' header, if you remember. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that this is going to be an easy game at all. What is working for us is that we don't have to play this game in Madagascar. That it's not a true home game.
It's I think that like neutral ground.
I think this is the only thing the only saving grace that it's not a true home game. Mm-hmm. I think if we get a draw, it will be an okay result in my opinion because this is a marathon, not a sprint. You get the draw, it means that they haven't beaten you. You still have the advantage over them. Sure, maybe the other teams in the group have a bit of a chance to catch up. But we still have enough of a gap knowing that, look, Mali have to come and play us. Yeah. That's the most difficult game remaining. Yeah. I look at the rest of the teams. We'll play Chad away. Yeah. That should not be a problem. Central African Republic away. They've had some interesting results in the last years.
It looked like they could have beaten us here.
Yeah.
That game was very...
But you see,
they have played an extra 5-10 minutes. It could have been a different
story. But you see, the thing about Central African Republic is because they don't have quality, even when they have these strong performances, sometimes...
They can't see out games.
Because, and if you remember, I think they've beaten Nigeria away. Yep. They've beaten Egypt at home. They can surprise you, but 9 times out of 10 we should beat them. And then who else is left in the group?
Is it Comoros?
Mali.
Comoros. That's who we beat. Mali are at least at home. Yeah. Comoros are also at home, and Comoros have beaten us already. Yeah. We should be able to get our revenge on Comoros. I think that is on the cards for us, knowing that it's a home game. And Mali also coming at home. I think a draw in that game too is a decent result. You win the other games. Yeah. I think we go to the World Cup. If we win 3 and draw the remaining 2, I think that should be enough. But if we lose a game, then things start to get... Because that other person has got 3 points.
Let me just take Nubo before we take our break. Your thoughts for Madagascar and your prediction as well.
Well, I mean, looking at our attacking front line, my only problem is that with the minutes he's played and all those kind of things, it looks like he'll be doing a lot more defensive work. So then it means that the way we set up in transition, it could be something that Madagascar will look to exploit. So that would mean that the chances we create, we would have to bury it. If we bury those chances, if we go up early, let's say in the first 20-25 minutes, we do score first, then they now have to come at us, and then we can get another goal.
We have good ball carriers in Kudus, Semenyo, Nyama.
They can dribble, they can carry the ball, they can create opportunities, they can give that defense a headache. But then if we do concede first, I don't remember the last time Ghana came back from a goal down to win a game.
And we don't break down. Look at what Sudan did to us. We couldn't break them down.
So that's where my worry is, because defensively we never look so assured. So it means that the offensive part of our game will have to be on point for us to beat Madagascar. If we do score first, I do think we should be able to see that game out.
Should be a tricky game. That game is tomorrow at 7 p.m. In Morocco. So it should be interesting. Ghana, Madagascar win that game, and the Black Stars will give themselves some distance at the top of that table, and then the qualification to the World Cup will look a lot more like a reality. Let's take a break on the show. When we come back, we'll go to other parts of the world and see exactly what's been happening with this international break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Let's get into some other stuff. And England were up against Albania. It was Thomas Tuchel's debut as England manager, and they managed to start off or give the manager a win to begin his England career. Let's get the highlights of that game. So the qualifiers, England doing really well there. Nubo, let me take your thoughts. What are you expecting from the Tuchel era as England manager? I know my expectations for him. I think anything short of a trophy would be a failure, because they've said all kinds of things about my good friend Gareth Southgate, who's taken them to 2 finals, finals they hadn't been to in forever. In fact, they had never been to a Euros final before Gareth Southgate. So
it's an 18-month contract, so it's only the World Cup. It's not
fair
it's not trophy. It's
So
the World Cup or bust.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think for me that's it. England don't have a problem qualifying for tournaments.
Yeah.
They don't have a problem, let's say, performing at tournaments.
And these days, they don't have a problem matching star players with other countries.
And going deep in tournaments. Because 2018, they went to the semi-finals.
Semi-final.
They lost to France in the quarterfinals at the last World Cup.
Yeah.
They've been to the final of the last 2 Euros. I mean, they are clearly one of the best teams in the world.
Exactly. So, qualification is never a problem for them. And even in the recent Euros, we saw that in the group stages, they weren't playing so well, but they still managed to get results. So it means that there's some bit of grit in there. They can, let me say, manufacture results, even if the play or the game is not going as expected. So for Tuchel, that's it. They know how to get there. They know how to get to the finals. Now he needs to go a step further and let them win. And if he doesn't, I guess that will be the end of it. They'll have to find someone else. But for me, there were some few questions about the call-ups for this particular international.
Yeah.
Maybe it's his first this, and he's trying to get everybody in, see their level, and then from there on he'll trim it down. But if you're still calling Jordan Henderson,
it's like you're reading my mind.
bro, I mean, Jordan Henderson was done like 2-3 years ago.
Let's be fair to him. This is the first call-up. It's a call-up.
Yeah, that's
in
what I'm
June.
saying.
Yeah.
It's a call-up in September. I think by October, November, those call-ups, that will be his 4th and 5th call-ups.
Yeah.
We will know who he wants to keep.
Yeah.
And for maybe Jordan Henderson is coming in because it's a 26-man squad, right? So even if you do team A, team B, there's still 4 players left. For all you know, Jordan Henderson is coming in to come and do elder states. I'm just suggesting. Look, we have to also be honest about the balance of the squad. That there are some players who look. If you're a third keeper, right? You're a third keeper, and you are supposed to be the third keeper. How much do you expect to see the field? Do you get what I'm saying? Your personality is probably more important than your keeping ability. Because if you are a good third keeper, you are annoying. You annoy everybody. You are better off picking the next best keeper who will come and be calm and things. So let's also be fair to Jordan Henderson. Maybe his experience and his leadership has value.
Senior man in the
Senior man.
Because if you ask me personally, for internationals, you call your players down on form.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot of time to train and all those things. So you need players who are in rhythm, and then you can put them into some form of a system to get results. So that's it for me. But so yeah, he got the results. But as we've said, it's the World Cup or bust. That's basically getting to the semi-final. They've seen it already. Getting to the finals. They've not been to the finals yet, but they've seen semi-finals already. So for me, he needs to win. And the earlier he gets a grip of who he wants in his team, settle in how he wants them to play, the better for him.
I mean, I'll be very frank. I don't think there's 3 national teams better than England. I think that's the level they are. I've been saying this since the last.
As a collective or the individuals in the team?
As in the individuals. I've been saying this since the last World Cup that I don't think there's 3 or 4 teams better than England, because you have Harry Kane, one of the best strikers around. You have Jude Bellingham now, who's asserted himself as one of the best midfielders in the world. You have Declan Rice, who's one of the best number 6s in the world. You have Saka, one of the best right wingers in the world. It's him, Salah, and Lamine Yamal. There's a lot of players who are very good in their positions. The squad is not perfect. You can even say Trent Alexander-Arnold. You have a weapon from right back
Top 5 right backs in the
that
world.
no other country has. Maybe he's not he's not the top defensive right back in the world. But in terms of what he can offer you in terms of breaking down teams, progressing the ball and that kind of stuff, you have one of the best deep progressing weapons in the world. How many teams can say that, look, at least in 3 or 4 positions, we have a top 3, top 5 player.
For best player in the world.
Yeah. So I think for Thomas Tuchel, when he looks at this squad, if he can't get them to the semi-final, look, I feel like to say that winning is,
but
if you don't win, it's
expanded World Cup too, so it's going to be extra difficult.
Yeah, and that's why I said I'm not one of the people who believes that if you don't win a trophy, you failed, because.
And for England, you failed.
No. They've won 1 trophy in their history. How is that failure? You can't.
No, but
that's what they bring you in for.
Let me make an argument, right? We always make the argument down in Ghana that if we ever had a good enough league, a league with good facilities, a league with top-level players, it should rub off on our national team positively to the point where we should win trophies. Why can't England do the same?
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying. You see, success. I'm not saying that. You see, success isn't just winning a trophy, right? But you see, I think because England, the standard has been set where you are getting to semi-final and final.
Yeah.
For you to be like exceed expectations, they don't want you to be what was there before. You see, but for me, if he gets to the semi-final, I think he's done an okay job. I'll be very honest, because winning trophies is very hard. And these England players, what has England, you see, and that's the thing about national team football. There has to be a culture of winning. There's no culture of winning in England. There's a culture of we think we should win and not doing anything about it. That's what it is. So I'll be very honest, getting to the semi-final is okay. But this squad is good enough to win. I'm going to also say that this squad is good enough to win.
It is.
That is what I'm also going to say. So that's what I'm saying. The minimum is get to the semi-final. Show us that you have understood the squad. You've taken it to a level it deserves to be. But you can also win it. And if you win it, it's not a surprise. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm not.
But we've gone through the squad.
I just feel like success in a national team is to win. If it is an age-restricted national team, I can give you a little more leeway. If it is the pinnacle national team, like the flagship 3 Lions, I'm not taking any other excuse, especially when you have
top players.
Like you yourself have listed.
Top players, top 5 in the world, all around the team. You have winners in the team.
This is not a country with a history of winning.
It doesn't matter.
Which is fair.
Even the World Cup they won, you can even argue that they did some shenanigans to win that World Cup. I'm making the point that this
Spain until let's say 2008, nobody really saw them as
exactly.
Yeah.
that.
And then they broke into it and they become a winning team.
But they've become a winning team. Now, the standard, you can say with Spain. But until England have that standard, the countries that have that standard, Germany, Italy, Brazil, Argentina, even Uruguay now, Uruguay can't come and say that we are going to win the World Cup now. It's no longer 1950. Do you understand what I'm saying? Things change. So England have to enter the winning circle. They are not there yet.
That's why Tuchel has
I'm just saying that, to say that he's failed because he's not entered the winning circle. It's not like they were there before. You understand?
Well, they were sacking the guy who was getting to the finals. Yeah. Then it's almost like we are bringing you because we think you are the final piece in the puzzle.
Yeah. Exactly.
More like that. Yeah. So I think the pressure will definitely be on him. The England job is arguably one of the biggest in the world. The fans are always on your back with their "it's coming home" stuff. They will create the pressure for you. So you need to make sure that you can make things happen.
That it's coming home is sarcastic, it's ironic that they don't believe they are going to win. That's what they say.
Imagine. Anyway, let's head to CONMEBOL. Let's talk about some qualifiers from South America. It was a big game involving Uruguay and Argentina. Messi missed out due to an injury, but it was still a spectacle. Let's get the highlights. So Argentina winning by 1-0. Thiago Almada, the hero on the day. Let me just take quick thoughts. I want to do the Brazil game as well, but just quick thoughts on this one.
Well, look, Argentina have been great. They've been the best national team in the world for basically the last 4 or 5 years. And they are flying towards qualification. I think Japan have qualified. I think Uzbekistan and a few other teams in Asia could qualify by the end of the international break. I think Argentina are 1 game potentially away from qualifying, maybe depending on other results. So things are going well.
So Ecuador is second from what I'm getting, and then Brazil are third.
Yeah, look, and Brazil were like 7th or 5th a while back, and now they are third. Look, the truth is, South American qualifying is probably the easiest continent to qualify.
Are you sure? I think it's one of the hardest, though.
No. Look.
For the traditional teams, it's easy.
The reason I say it's the easiest is that for the longest time, they had 4 automatic places and a 5th team going to a playoff in a 10-team qualification process.
Yeah.
I think when I say it's the easiest, look at Africa, for example. We had a system where you play your group, you top your group, then you go to a playoff against the other elite teams in Africa.
Difficult.
And we had the same places as them, 5 places. And we had 50 countries. That's a lot harder than 10 countries. And now it's 10 countries, 6 are going automatically, and a 7th goes to a playoff.
Because regardless of how it goes down, and regardless of how bad they play, Brazil and Argentina typically end up sailing through.
And when I say it's the easiest, it's because of the nature of this.
Yeah, they have a lot of room for failure.
And the truth is, even if they added the teams in South America who've been excluded, so that would be Guyana and Suriname, and what's the other one? Guyana, Suriname, and there's another one, like the South American teams that play in CONCACAF. Those teams, everyone will beat them. So to make it even easier. So I think, look, South American qualifying isn't too hard for good teams. So you just have to keep pace, So it gives, and it's a long one because it's a whole league phase. It starts from basically after the last World Cup. You get time to build yourself. So it's not too hard for the big teams. So even Brazil, who've not looked great,
they'll still end up qualifying. Anyway, let's get the last highlights of the day, and that is a game between Brazil and Colombia. Yes, so let's get the highlights. Vinicius Jr. celebrating for Brazil. They won their game as well. Well on song to qualify. Argentina, I believe, can qualify with one more win. So all looking rosy for the big boys there in CONMEBOL. Final thoughts on the qualifiers before you go and take his final thoughts as well.
Well, I think for Brazil, it would be good to see them at the World Stage. It would have been a big disservice if they weren't able to make it. But then, it's been a while we saw Brazil win. So can they get over there? Can they
You see, the reason they won't win is that the Brazilian FA refuses to hire a coach.
So they are hiring PE teachers.
No, they keep hiring these Brazilian league managers because they are waiting for Ancelotti or whatever.
Yep.
So they'll hire you, you do a few games, they don't like it, then they'll sack you and bring another person. The reason they should just decide that, look, Ancelotti doesn't want to come or whatever and hire a coach, because this waiting for Ancelotti to change his mind.
Ancelotti will make you win? He's not manager at national level.
What's even the guarantee that he's going to agree? Because he keeps trying to extend his Real Madrid contract. If he was interested,
wants to go to Brazil. Real Madrid keep trying to keep him.
But he keeps agreeing to stay. If he was that interested, he would tell Real Madrid that I've won enough.
Yeah.
I've won how many?
But I picked up reports from Spain that this is his last season. Like, regardless of how it goes now, win the league, win the Champions League, not win, this is it for him.
Maybe if he goes to Brazil, they'll find, because they've had like 3 or 4 managers. I think they've had, right now it's Dorival Jr., they've had Fernando Diniz, I think. They've had a bunch of guys. So they keep, the fact that you are not giving anyone a consistent mandate and telling them that this is your team, build it as you wish. Because even Diniz was still managing Palmeiras at the time. It's not good enough for Brazil. It's Brazil. Like, it's the Brazil job is a big job.
It's supposed to be the biggest job in football as far as national teams are concerned.
And Alisson got injured, right?
Gravenberch had to come off from the Liverpool game as well.
No, you're still in the league.
Let me just take predictions from you guys on the Ghana-Madagascar game.
1-1.
I want to see
1-1.
I think 1-1.
I want to see the lineup. But I think based on everything I'm seeing about our team and that kind of, I think 1-1 right now. When I see the lineup, I might change. But 1-1 is my blind prediction.
Yeah. Seems fair. Next week when we come back, that game would have been played, and then we'll probably be able to talk about it a little, even though the international break would have ended. But thank you very much, Lubo. Thank you very much, Susu. And thank you to all of you who made time to watch the show. Same time next week, Scorecard. We'll be back on your screens.